Cast your minds back to 13 years ago and the A1283 revision of the Mac Mini launched only yesterday. So what would the iLife have been like in 09? Hello all and welcome to 2009, or at least let us pretend that it's 2009 and that things are better. 2009 was big in many ways. Firstly, it was the last year of the noughties and so an end of a decade. The 2010s would see the rise of the smartphone and smart devices into the mass market, and one that has become so ingrained in today's society with always online devices all around us. It also continued the turning point when Apple had begun shifting away from polycarbonate Macs and iPods and instead moving to their instantly recognisable aluminium unibody design language. Machines after this year would be released with an all aluminium design and perhaps glass for the MacBook and iMac lines, with only the iPhone remaining plastic up until the iPhone 4. It was also the same year in which Steve Jobs released a memo about his ailing health and announcing that he would be taking a 6-month leave of absence, his health becoming a notable subject into the early 2010s until his death in 2011. Indeed, 2009 was a sign of a new era for Apple, which to me at least has only recently ended with the release of the Apple Silicon architecture and the new iMac in 2021. So with that, what devices might have you been using back then? The iPod Classic is in its last generation, which was on sale between 2007 and 2014. Featuring up to 160GB of music storage, the 6th generation introduced cover flow to the iPod and an anodized aluminium front, replacing the polycarbonate faceplate of the 5th generation. Also becoming more commonplace alongside Bluetooth hands-free would have been dedicated iPod interfaces for cars, for drivers to listen and control their iPod through the car stereo controls. A feature again that we all take for granted nowadays with Bluetooth audio streaming and control with modern smartphones. It also wasn't uncommon at the time to still be using aux cables to listen to MP3 players, iPods, mini disc players or other media devices, but the iPod was one of the few devices that offered a standard way to control the device. Work in 2009 isn't all that much different. More office work, more pages to print out and more calls to take.
What up, it's your boy Reese. Why do I have these things?
You might have loved your new iPhone 3G and the then snappy internet speeds of up to 3 megabits a second. YouTube on the go was now finally possible. Whilst the 3G carrier network had been launched in 2002 in the US and 2003 in the UK, it was a slow adoption rate. Even the first model of iPhone didn't support 3G data, and that would only come with the iPhone 3G. What you might not have loved, however, other than the camera of the iPhone, which even then was pretty poor, is your venerable MacBook Pro at this time. It's an older model, the first generation of Intel-based MacBook Pros, but it's been through a tough life of scrapes, dents and just daily use. And perhaps you're thinking it's due a replacement, and those unibody MacBook Pros are looking mighty tempting, especially the 17-inch model which has only just been released. The only downside with this model is that they've moved to a glossy screen. I don't know, there's just something nice about the matte screens. Back at home and it's time to sit back, relax and watch a film that you've heard rave reviews and you've only just gotten around to picking up. The Mac Mini seems to be a perfect fit by the TV. Small, quiet and yet very powerful, more than enough to watch high definition movies at 1080p. Especially as the Apple remote works right out of the box with it and also has an optical output for 5.1 surround sound. With the film over, why not work on some of those projects you have going on? iLife 09 has not long come out and is a powerhouse for creativity, featuring iMovie, GarageBand and also iDVD for making your own slick DVDs, and a home website publishing tool called iWeb which goes hand in hand with the MobileMe web hosting service by Apple. And for a suite of apps that came bundled with your new iMac, it's some seriously good kit for the value. Need a head start on your new song? Just drag a pre-made loop into the timeline. Match your bass alongside it, and play a little melody on the keyboard. And with a few tweaks later, you've already got a decent start to your next song. Well, it's a good start, but it's getting late. Perhaps we should stop. Maybe we can work tomorrow when we're in the cafe tomorrow. And with that, I think it's about time to close out on this journey into the past. I appreciate that this video might not be for all, but as someone who grew up during this time period when these devices were new, it's been refreshing to experience them as they were back then. And this is actually the point I find most interesting with retro computing for me. That being, I find it harder to be so infused with the Commodore 64 for example, even though it's a very good machine. I just don't feel a personal connection to it. However, using these devices not only gave me a sense of nostalgia from either of using them in the past or seeing these devices in use, but also an appreciation and respect to how they are still relatively usable, at least to me. In fact, as a testament to this fact, this video you've watched has been made using period hardware and software in the form of the same early 2009 iMac running macOS Snow Leopard and using iMovie from iLife 09. Perhaps you notice a difference in the quality, or maybe you notice no change at all. Leave a comment if you did, as I'm curious to know. Also, I just want to mention that this isn't a Marchintosh video, it's just a tribute. But if you do like videos looking at historic Apple hardware, then check the link in the description for more videos relating to it throughout this month. In any case, thank you for joining me, and if you've liked what you've seen, you might also be interested in these videos below.